Paul Tantardini had to be one of the most recognizable names in Toledo sports ever.
If you ask a fan that was around during our era, during the Gold Digger era, who most represented what the Gold Diggers represented, you might get Garvin, but 7 out of 10 are going to say Paul Tantardini.
The people loved him. He was like a rock star.
He was a player that really resonated with the fan base here in Toledo because of the style of play which he put out on the ice every single night.
He played that blue collar style, could skate, was a guy that stood up for his teammates. And back in that era in Toledo hockey, I mean, you basically went to 1 Main Street if you were a fan back then. And there was a pretty good chance that Paul was going to get into a scrap that night. And he normally did. He didn't always win, but he was a guy that, was never scared to drop him and go at it.
During the first season of the Gold Diggers, Paul racked up 338 penalty minutes in 38 games. If you stop and think about that, that's nearly 10 penalty minutes per game, or nearly 2 fights per game.
During games, he would know who's having a large effect for the other team, be it their best defenseman or their, one of their key playmakers or what. And he would disrupt that guy's game and his mental state. Maybe he made our teams better.
He was just a player. He was all heart, and he loved to play. Tanner is like a big kid. He loved the game. Big smile.
He gave you the attitude there was nothing he couldn't do. He just had an aura about him of confidence. He was one of them guys, I think, that you hated to play against, but you loved him as a teammate.
When I played against him, I played 1 game against him, and he speared me with his stick. He took a penalty, and then he tackled me later in the game. He took 2 penalties against me, and I've known him forever. And good friend, I'm the godfather of his son. So it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter. If you're wearing the other color jersey, you're no longer his teammate.
What's amazing about Paul is that during his Toledo career, he racked up nearly 2,000 penalty minutes during the regular season and the playoffs. But what people forget about is here's a gentleman who scored over 360 points during that same time period. He put up really outstanding numbers while spending literally a lifetime in the penalty box. Paul went on to play 471 games over 8 seasons, coming and going with the Toledo Gold Digger organization. He put a lot of the penalty minutes up early. He put a lot of the points up later in his career. And he really was a talented hockey player by the time his career ended.